Do you always need to build a full AI agent? Not necessarily with Claude Cowork Skills. What are skills and how can you start using them? Listen to this episode to find out how and why they're possibly the most underrated feature of AI. Welcome to Automate Your Agency. Every week, we bring you expert insights, practical tips, and success stories that will help you streamline your business operations and boost your growth. Let's get started on your journey to more efficient and scalable operations.
All right, Alane, I've got a question for you at the top of this episode. It's a would you rather.
Okay.
Would you rather train somebody to do 10 steps and hope that they do it the same way, even with a written SOP, and create the same quality across every single one of those same steps? Or would you rather just train somebody to type / and then the name of the set of steps that they're supposed to be doing and have that happen automatically? It's a trick question.
I feel like this is a drinking game right now.
It always, this whole podcast is a drinking game.
Yeah.
Cheers. This is
So
water.
the first one was so long, I tuned out for part of it, to be honest.
So did the person you trained.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely the second one, man. And I know where you're going with this, and it is such a lifesaver. And really, the way that you just described it makes it so obvious. Of course, you'd want to go with option 2.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about today is skills for Claude Cowork in particular.
I love using skills. And I think that was one of the things when we first started using Cowork that it felt so scary to start doing. And you're going like, Alane, just tell it that you want to create a skill and tell it what you want it to do. And it's going to build it for you. And
Well, I'll
I'm
tell
like,
you, the number one question we get about creating skills is how do we create a skill?
yeah, it is. And it really was that easy. And the great thing with Cowork, if any of you are using it that are listening, is that if it gets it wrong, you just say, hey, let's rework this. I want to fix this part of the skill that you created. And it's such an easy process to work from. Micah, let's dive in a little bit deeper on what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah, what is a skill?
Yeah.
All right. So at the very, very basic level, a skill is a SOP or a standard operating procedure, a set of instructions for AI. It's exactly the question that I asked at the beginning. If you have a 10-step process, would you rather train a human to do that? Or would you rather have AI do what it can do out of those 10 steps? And a skill is essentially writing that down once with the help of AI to perfect what those, say, 10 steps are. And then the next time you need to do those 10 steps, even as a person, right, you just ask AI to use that skill and it loads that in, runs through the 10 steps. It creates consistency. It creates standardization. It does it the same way every time and it follows its instructions.
So on a basic level, it's so similar to how we talk about AI agents. Like this is basically a done for you AI agent that
Yeah.
Cowork is doing.
Yeah.
And it's so much more than when I think of an SOP, I think of it as a concrete way of doing something. And it's for like one linear process. What I love about a skill is that it's taking an input and can have multiple outputs associated and with other software platforms. So it is really automating a process with the instructions to go alongside of it.
Yes, you're absolutely right. What you're talking about is embedding the logic that we used to have to program into this. Like we could program, quote unquote, program logic into an SOP, right? It was a bunch of if this, value is this. And I'm not even talking about programming language. I'm talking about writing in an SOP. We've heard the terms decision trees. Remember, we used to have to map all these possibilities out for people to follow so they knew exactly what to do when this happened or if this happened. But what you're saying, you can build that into a skill and AI can navigate that.
Yes. And it's so incredible because it's all done with / commands in Cowork. So it's / and then the name of that skill. It's that simple. And that's all you have to do with the skill once it's created. So say it's a call debrief skill, you just do / call debrief and then maybe the grain link so that it knows which call you want to do. And that's it. Then it creates the email draft. It creates the action items in your project management tool like ClickUp. It'll create a summary of next steps and action items for that client. It does all of those things with just a
Yep.
few words.
I don't even give it the link usually. I just say it's ingrained. The call that I had with blank,
You can go either way. I started doing it with the grain link instead of telling it because I couldn't remember the name of the meeting.
that works too. That works too.
Sometimes I get
And
creative.
I think that's one of the things that we should really call out in this. Even with a skill defined, the execution is standardized, but the inputs can be variable, which
Mhm.
means if you give it a grain link, sweet. If you say, hey, you're connected with grain, go look for this meeting that I had yesterday. Sweet. Like it can do all of that and it doesn't return an error like
Mhm.
wrong input. Like I don't know what to do from here. And
Yeah.
same thing with the outputs. And while it's executing, it's making all of those like slight adjustments based on each step on what it has.
Yeah, I will say with the grain link, and I just want to mention this for listeners. The reason that my cowork can see that grain link is because I have it connected.
Good
So if
point.
I don't, it'll say, "Hey, I can't see this. Can you paste the transcript?" So Micah's talking about it from a connector standpoint because it is connected to grain. But in a way, I am too, because even if I paste the link, it still needs to be a connector in there. So I just wanted to put that nuance in there that it can see things because we're also utilizing those custom connectors.
Yeah. So I started with skills, Elaine, saying that they start as SOPs. What
Mhm.
we're already talking about is a system. And so a
Mhm.
skill is actually like a miniature system because we could take this call debrief skill that we're talking about and have AI do parts of what we want, get the transcript, analyze it,
Mhm.
summarize it, do this. And halfway through that, it can come back to us and say, hey, does this look right? We can chat with it and give it feedback, and then it can carry on with the rest of its thing. That's a system.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of different ways that you can leverage that. But if we even go one step further, I would argue that a skill is actually powerful enough to be a micro app.
I love that you kind of came up with this idea because if they hadn't been created in Cowork, they would have had to have been an AI agent. And we have called those mini SaaSes for the last 2 years since we've been creating agents, because that is absolutely what you're creating. Even though it's super easy now to create it in Cowork when you're just telling Cowork to create the skill, it is still a micro app. You are plugging together multiple software platforms that you're using with different outputs in each one of those. That's essentially an app.
Yeah. So let me give you a really quick example Elaine, that I did earlier today. I needed a way to create an API token.
Mhm.
This is something that I'm going to do over and over again. Now, I could go and write a Python script, but I work in Cowork all the time. So I thought to myself, why don't I make a skill for this? And there's one caveat that I really want to point out here, which is that when you're running an AI skill, and I was confused about this when we first started with skills, I thought everything went through the LLM and everything was using tokens and usage, but that's not how it works. You could actually have a skill that you call and say, hey, Claude, make me a new API token. Awesome. It's going to start with AI. It's going to look at its skill instructions. It's going to realize it has a Python script embedded into this. So it's going to go from AI to Python, which is a programming language. It's going to run the Python script to create the encrypted API token. And then it's going to go back to the AI to say, is this what the user is looking for? Yes or no. And then finally reply back to me. And then I can chat with it and have it like that. That's like a super, super small skill that does the same thing over and over, but it's not going to Claude, and Claude isn't making up a string of characters. It's actually using an encryption library in Python, using Python script, and then sending the results of that within the skill back to AI and then sending the output back to me as the user, which makes it an interface.
Hmm. That's super interesting. One of the things that I keep thinking about through all of this too, Micah, is the necessity for standardizing. Like that one's such a big topic. It's a kind of a common thread through our podcast. But, thinking back, even when we started doing skills on the team level for our organization, is we don't want a Micah way and a Lane way, an individual way of doing things for the same stuff that we're doing for call debriefs. We want
Yeah.
a biggest goal way of doing that.
Yeah.
And I notice this as a conversation starting to happen more because people are noticing like, we don't have a standard way. If I'm going to create an organizational skill, then I need a standard way of doing something.
It forces that thought process.
It really does. And it can be hard for some of the people on the team because they're used to not working that way. They're used to being the lone ranger getting to make every decision on how they work. But when you're looking at, hey, we're going to use AI and we want to have a standard way, a company way of how we do things. This is the perfect opportunity to say, we are going to create a skill for this thing, and it is going to be our company way of doing it. That way, it's reusable. That's the whole benefit of having skills, is that it's a reusable asset that your team can use.
So I want to give an example of this, Elaine. This is going to sound like a ridiculous fake example, but it's absolutely not. It's creating a skill to add deals to a CRM.
Mm.
And here's why it sounds fake. Like, why the hell would I build a skill just to add a deal to a CRM? That's so easy.
Hmm.
But it's exactly what you're talking about with standardization, with templating, with naming conventions, with structure. All of that goes into creating a deal in a CRM. You've got to have, do we want to require certain fields? Well, then we can build that into the CRM and customize that, or we train people to do it. I mean, think about
Hmm.
that 10-step question that I asked in the beginning. I bet you there's 25 steps just to add a deal to a CRM if you're going to do it a biggest goal way or a your company way, because you're going to want to name the deal in a specific way. You're going to want to leave notes in a specific structure and format. You're going to want to include certain topics in those notes. You're going to want to extract the data from the prospects that you were talking to, the contacts, the people, the company. You're going to interrelate all of that. You might need to make multiple deals, one for each product or one for each service. Maybe that's a standard way to do it. Training on all of that,
Yeah.
and we've all been there, right? It's, let's just say it. I'm going to say the word, Elaine,
Okay.
impossible.
So, what I'm thinking through this is I'm going to throw myself under the bus because I am the worst at keeping the CRM updated with deals. That is not time that I want to spend. And so it just doesn't get done. So, thinking about every salesperson on the team, how many other Elaines are there on the team? There's a lot of us in sales that just do not want to take that time.
I would argue that there is 0% of salespeople who want to take the time to do this exactly the right way every single time,
Yeah.
following a 25-step SOP.
Yeah. And if it's getting done, they probably have an assistant to do it for them. So you're paying a person
Two
to
people.
do that. And
Yeah.
then the other thing is that I was thinking through is kind of going back to what we were talking about just a second ago, is that if you waited for every individual salesperson on the team to create an individual skill, they are not going to be done the same way.
No.
Not all of them are going to do it. So standardizing this is the way that we keep our CRM updated, and having a skill for that creates it's so easy after that.
Here's the other thing. We've worked with hundreds of and have had, I don't know, probably close to 1,000 calls with companies, Elaine, of all different sizes, of all different types. Never once has anybody gone, you know what I'd like to do? Standardize adding deals to my CRM. They want to invent these giant frickin'
Um,
solutions that solve these big problems. But again, how many salespeople do you have? And even if it's only you, I can
mhm,
also guarantee that I've never entered a deal in the same way exactly over and over again. And I
mhm.
certainly don't want to do it. It's not the work that anybody wants to do. So, is it better spending all this time devising this giant process and this workflow? Or in an afternoon, can you define how you want to add a deal to your CRM and communicate with Claude and have it help you write this skill? And tomorrow, all you have to do is go to your team and go, when you add a deal to the CRM, go to Cowork, type /add deal, and then point it to the customer name or an email address, and it will connect to your email. It will connect to the CRM to see what else has been in there in the past notes. It will connect to your call transcript software, your AI note taker, and pull out all the information. It'll look at the signature files and get the company. It will search the web and do discovery for you while you're putting this all in. And on top of that, it's going to fill in all the required fields. It's going to put it in with naming conventions. It's going to put it in the standard way. I could keep going on, but I think everybody probably gets the point. That is such a simple thing in a business when you think about it, but it is a massive, massive gain if you just made a skill that does that. And do get me started or don't get me started,
I
Alane,
think we already
on
got you started.
I'm already started on editing. Do we create a skill for editing? Hell yeah, we do. And then what if we wanted to improve or change? Obviously, we change processes all the time as a business. So, what happens if we want to change the process of adding a deal to a CRM? Do we retrain all 10 of our salespeople, all 100, all one of our salespeople? Hell no. We just go to Claude and say, hey, can you update the skill to do this? And we don't even have to tell anybody that we changed it.
Yeah. I mean, it's good if you do. I think that,
Maybe. Nobody's going to go to the CRM at that point to look.
yes. I want to just drop this little tidbit in is that you could have a scheduled task that runs a skill.
Hmm.
So you could have it check your email for things that you missed in the sales world. I know we're making this very sales oriented, but I think the reason that I've been talking about the sales example too is that this has been in the press a lot lately. Anthropic just did a couple of weeks ago a whole webinar on how they're using skills in their sales process. It's all in the back end stuff, in the call prep, in the call summary, in your daily brief of what sales call. It's
The
all in that
research.
back end
Yeah.
part that is the time consuming part. That and the humans get to do the selling. And JP Morgan, Micah, your AI news brief this week was all talking about that. And this is a common thread that we use internally ourselves and that we're seeing these much larger companies also. And we're all saying the same thing. Let humans be humans, where you want to be person to person and chatting and discussing things. Like I always laugh because every week I at least get one email saying, is this really Alane or is this an AI agent? And I'm like, no, this is really me because that's the human part, is the human connection piece. A human doesn't have to do the call prep stuff. That can be provided to me so I can be more valuable on our time together.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
I was going to transition into some of the things that you can leverage in skills like templates and having a consistent output. What is your boilerplate template output that you want?
Yeah. You can get as detailed as you want. You can give it a document to duplicate. You can give it placeholders. You can even get to the point where a skill could call in workflow to do things on other platforms that Claude or MCP servers can't do right now. So, template wise, man, you just start wherever you want to start, really, with the standards.
So, a couple of things, Micah, to wrap this up that I wanted to mention is when you're creating skills and you feel unsure, one of the things is that we have a free Claude Cowork Masterclass that's available. And it's in our community called your.biggestgoal.ai. And it's completely for free. We have how to create skills, how to maintain your skills built into that. And then we mentioned your AI news brief that you send out every single day. That's also in the community. So you can go to your.biggestgoal.ai and get access to both of these.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we've got a skill that can be an SOP. It can be a system. It can be a micro app. It can run its own scripting languages like Python. It can leverage templates. You can give it examples. It can leverage boilerplate layouts. It can leverage assets like images. It can even produce all the actual outputs that you're trying to produce. So, like you were saying a second ago, Elaine, you get to be the human, the director, the judgment that says, like, oh, what if we tweak this or what if we change this? That all is amazing. I will say there is a skill to making skills.
Well, we have to be the expert, right? If we just let
Yes.
AI, then where are our expertise? What makes us special as a company, as a service provider, whatever it is? So, absolutely. Like the reason my workshop analysis skill works so well is because I told it what I wanted the output to be, how I wanted it, and gave it the data to work from. So, that skill works exactly like I would, but I don't have to be the person doing it
Well,
anymore.
and I want to ask this too, Elaine, because I don't know. Did it get it right the first time, or did you have to work through a few things?
I had to work through a few things, and this is what I love about Cowork too, is it prompted me to give an example that I could work from for this. Well, absolutely, because I'd done it as a human multiple times. So I provided it the spreadsheet and the final output of one that I really liked that I had done. And I said, hey, this is what I'm looking for. It produced a couple of examples for me for the skill and said, hey, what do you like about these? And I made two changes. I said, I really want this to be a chart here. And I really like the finding the selection of people here. And so it went back and did that. And I did maybe like one other tweak and I was done.
Yeah. And each time I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing you tested it and you looked at the output that it produced. And then you were like, okay, that works or not this. So even how you communicate, how you're asking for it, like next time you do a skill, you'd probably give that example up front, knowing that
Hmm.
you already did it once and that you needed to give it the second time because it was asking. So, you know, you're developing your own skill set in how to
Hmm.
build skills with Claude.
And it's how we talk to our clients about this is that you have to get your feet wet. You got to get in there and just do it. Like there's nothing to be scared of. Just because you do a skill not 100% right, like you're not hurting anything. Just work with it. And I guarantee you it's going to save you so much time if you just get in there and get your hands dirty. Get your
Yeah. And
hands dirty, get your feet wet.
I was wondering, you paused and I was really proud of you for getting the saying correct. I
I
was
had to think
wondering what
about
was
it.
going to come out.
No, I didn't know.
All right. So, my tip on this too is also to start simple. You don't have to build the whole thing. And again,
Mhm.
even take something that sounds so simple, adding a deal to Pipedrive, adding a deal to Copper, adding a deal to any CRM, right? Like
Mhm.
that sounds like one thing. And
Mhm.
we generalize that in our brains. But when we try to create a system or an SOP or a micro app around that, it gets
Mhm.
really complicated really fast. So you don't have to start with the absolute perfect end result skill, even if it sounds simple. Don't beat yourself up about it because I know a lot of people do. You just got to start with a skill that says, hey, I'm going to review email and I'm going to get the information out of the signature file and I'm going to create the records.
Mhm.
That is effing it. Just start there. That's a success. You've already saved 20 minutes of going to finding all the contact information, finding the titles, finding the addresses, creating the records, associating the records. That's 20 minutes you've already saved. So from that point, just get that working and then do a small little step. Well, now I want it to check the transcripts. Awesome. That's an upgrade. That's an improvement to the skill. Don't add all of that right up out of the gates.
So, Mike, I want to try something. So, we've been getting comments on our podcast, which we absolutely love. Thank you to those that leave us comments, especially the positive ones. Is if you have created a skill, tell us about your skill. Drop it in the comments wherever you listen to our podcast.